we talk about who's starting?
We talk about who's doing it. I'll intro.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk, everyone. Um, we're having quite a day and quite a morning. This is so fun. Honestly, I love the bloopers. I was just talking about bloopers the other day. How people should keep more bloopers in what they actually post because it brings more humanity. So this is hilarious, actually, that this is how we're starting today. Welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk. I'm Jeanette, and Lisa and Elise are joining me. We are mediums and channelers at Avalon Spirit. And today we wanted to talk about the whole whirl that is Pluto moving back into Capricorn and then back permanently into Aquarius, kind of like mid-November. And what that really is looking like, because I know all of us are feeling it in a lot of different ways, and Pluto is a big moving planet. It's not a big planet, but it is a big moving planet in terms of its energy, and it has huge, huge impacts in what's happening to all of us right now. So, with that being said, welcome everyone. How are you ladies feeling?
Good. I feel good today. I
Well, that's good.
actually got up and was like singing good morning. Like I felt happier and more connected to life than I have in since 2008.
That's a big shift.
I say that because that's when Pluto went into Capricorn, right?
Yeah.
Um, that was just I was just being an idiot. But yeah, no, I feel good this morning, but I sure can feel the karmic whirling and the round and round we're going and wrapping up this thing and then wrapping up the next thing. And I don't know if anybody has actually followed the rhythms of this happening in the ethers and through our planetary alignments, but I can feel it. Jeanette, I
Mhm.
think you really have a good knowledge base. You're getting more and more into astrology, hey? Aren't you?
Yeah, and
Is
Shannon's been
Shannon
teaching
kind
me.
of mentoring
Yeah.
you a bit with that? Tell us
Yeah, she's
about
been
it.
teaching me.
Shannon's been on the show. If you haven't seen it, it was like last year. We should have her on again and
I
talk
was
about this.
I was thinking about that, yeah.
Yeah, she loves to talk about like all things astrology. She will talk forever about it. So we
She's a
definitely
boss.
should. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So tell us what you've learned. Enlighten us.
Yeah. Well, so Pluto moving into, so earlier in the year, Pluto was moved into Aquarius and then reverted back into Capricorn for a little bit. And the reason why I'm starting there is the shift, first of all, of Pluto moving into Aquarius was a really big deal, is a really big deal. Because Pluto is a planet of like death, destruction, underworld. It's very connected to Scorpio energy. We're in Scorpio season right now. We just stepped into Scorpio season. So Scorpio season is like the underbelly of experiences, that like bottom end, digging at the end of the barrel, like really challenging who you are. Um, that inner sanctum that sometimes we don't want to look at. That's some of the energies that Scorpio can bring up. And then you have Pluto moving into Aquarius, bringing these like new ideas, death, destruction, rebirth, though, into the light earlier in the year. But then it went and moved back into Capricorn, which planets come sometimes do. We're now wrapping up the last phase of Pluto being in Capricorn, where it will then move back into Aquarius. I believe it's November 17th. Maybe one of you could look that up just to double check. But here's the
I
thing.
thought it was the 19th.
Maybe it's the 19th. I can't remember exactly.
Let me
But
look it up.
Pluto in Aquarius is about like new energies and this new creation, this new way of seeing things. And Aquarius is very like creative. It's a super creative energy. Like they've been writing songs about Age of Aquarius forever. So you move the planet Pluto into that, and that's a really big deal.
It's the 19th.
Moving the 19th? Okay. Pluto being in Capricorn, though, Capricorn represents all of the kind of the old, outdated structures in our collective. right? Like the rigid structures, the more patriarchy type structures, the old paradigms. So we stepped into this new energy of Aquarius with Pluto coming in like death, destruction, rebirth, and we were like, yes. And then we got thrown back into Capricorn where we're like, ew, I don't like this. What's
Ugh.
happening?
Yeah.
But this ew is kind of getting to that bottom of the barrel and scraping out the corners because it's like, yes, you moved into this new place, but before you fully do, you need to go back and clean up the old one before you can really release it. So we're in these energies right now of cleaning up the old one,
And
for
that's
just a few more weeks.
collectively and
Collective.
individually. Yeah.
Yes. And so it's like we're in this energy of really releasing like dead weight, old energies, old karmas are clearing. That's been a big one. Like huge transformation because once it goes back into Aquarius on the 19th, November 19th, we are in this like solid structured new energy, right? So anytime you're getting close to that big shift point where a planet is going to station or move into this new sign for a long time, I think it's going to be in for like 20 years or something or longer, long time. Um, Anytime that happens, the time leading up to it, the closer it gets, the tighter the squeeze. And so that's why right now we're experiencing a tighter and tighter and tighter squeeze of like death, destruction, underworld, underbelly stuff where we're like, what is happening? Like we were just talking about that. We're like, what is this so weird on planet Earth right now? It is so weird. Like the whole concept of how we live sometimes when we look at it from that perspective is so weird because we're confronting a lot of the Pluto and Capricorn paradigms right now, where then soon we'll shift into the Pluto into Aquarius paradigms, which will be different. And there's a transition to that. So that's my very basic rundown of it.
And some signs are feeling it more than others.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The cardinal signs are the ones who are really feeling this, specifically Capricorns. Do you guys
Capricorns
know
are
any
feeling that.
Capricorns really well?
No, but you do.
I sure do. I got two of them in my face 24/7.
Oh,
So fun. It's so fun
yeah.
scraping the corner bits with the Capricorns.
Yes. You know, and
Oh,
honestly though, we can like we can kind of make fun of or pester any
yeah,
sign,
I'm
right?
just
Like
being
we do
silly,
love
but
Capricorns too.
of
Um,
course we love Capricorns. Of course we
yes.
do. Yeah.
People mock Geminis all the time, I gotta say, but I'm a proud Gemini. So I hear you, Capricorn. I'm with you. I'm standing over here with my dual personality, okay?
What is
Anyway,
like a cliche Gemini thing?
oh, that word two-faced.
Really?
Yeah, because the twins, right? Two personalities is a
Oh,
Gemini thing. So like in like the cruder aspects, like every astrological sign can have a
has
crude
a
aspect.
shadow and a light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the cruder aspect would be that they're two-faced, that you can't, they're flighty. You can't trust which one you're talking to, all of those negative things.
Okay, well, can you like relate to any of that? Like growing up and not being in your light and like when you're going through it, can you see those aspects of your not Capricorn, sorry,
My
Gemini
Gemini
coming
self.
out? Or do
Um,
you relate more with your rising sign?
it's interesting. So growing up, the wounded me could act more like Gemini. Um, Not so much in being two-faced, but rather, how would I explain that? Being more quick to anger. So I identify more with my rising, which is Libra, which is Elise's sun, right? So more like more
Balance.
that way, but anger me, and then I can flip to the Gemini side. Not so much anymore. I'm a lot more cool and calm, but like growing up as a kid, I was more flippy that way, where it's like, I'll be fun and play, but piss me off and watch it.
That is so interesting. I
Mhm.
can definitely, because I feel like I relate way more to my rising sign, but then when I kind of move into a bit of my shadow or like I go straight Aries too, in the shadow Aries stuff. But when you look at the whole, like the whole um part of my birth chart, I'm very Sagittarius. Very, very, they're both fire
Interesting.
signs. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I remember when Shannon read mine and she was like, "Oh, your chart, especially like where you place in your Sagittarius, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Like, I was just listening, right? She's like, you do not like tradition. I am so surprised that you're like married and have kids and own a house. Like, she's like, you kind of have the white picket fence. That is not your birth chart. I'm like, that's not me. I'm like, I'm outside of the box with everything that I possibly can be. And it's like I'm not traditional at all. Like nothing for me resonates in like that deep tradition, like my entire family. Um, but yeah, so I'd say same thing as like Sagittarius all the way. But then if you like, especially when I was a little unhinged before, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I would feel that more of like that anger Aries, that real fire Aries of the anger and being like, I'll just do it myself, like that martyr kind of like, instead of like good leadership, it was more like, oh, like incompetence. I'll do it myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Totally. How about you, Elise?
What about you, Elise? What's your rising sign?
So I'm Libra, Pisces, Pisces. So, and it's funny because when I was younger and I mean, I don't know a ton about astrology now, but when I was younger, you read your horoscope and like the magazines and whatever. And I'd always be like, because I'd look at Libra, I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I don't think that fits. And so I kind of just, it never super resonated with me. Um, I see aspects of it more now, I would say, from the perspective of like trying to see all sides and very try to be balanced. And, but it can also mean you're very indecisive and you can kind of flip flop. But the shadow, I just read this recently and I could be wrong about this. So if I am, sorry, Shannon, let me know. um, that the shadow of Libra tends to be more Aries. And so when you were talking, Lisa, about the shadowy Aries around
Yes.
like martyr and blamey, because as a Libra and I do super resonate with Pisces, that I tend to always be the one always, speaking from the shadow side, when I feel like I'm always holding space for others and not getting that back, it starts to shift into martyrdom. It can start to shift into just getting frustrated. And for me now, that's an awareness of like, okay, I'm not setting enough boundaries in my life. And that's on me. That's not on anybody else. That's on me to be like, oh shit, you're giving away too much. You also need to like honor what you need as well and figure out a balance in that. But then on the Pisces side, it tends to be kind of head in the clouds and like can get a little ungrounded, very emotional, but also, really kind of leans into the intuitive, but also, and I kind of flip back and forth between Libra and Pisces and like, I love the like joking memes that you'll see on like that people do Instagram. And it's like, you know, like a house of horrors, but you think everybody hates you and like things like that. I always laugh because I'm like, yeah, that's true. I like the chronic overthinking that can happen, especially when you're feeling depleted or when you're feeling kind of ungrounded in yourself. So,
Is that
yeah.
Pisces? Like, tell me about what Pisces is like, because I know Libra, but is Pisces is like super intuitive and spiritual, right?
Yeah.
And like quite
Water.
emotional.
Yeah. Quite emotional, very like
Rivers,
flowy.
Pisces.
Yeah. Very like big picture, not big picture thinking in the sense of like systems and things, but like be like, what does it all mean? Like
Oh
sometimes I'll
yeah.
catch myself like going down this rabbit hole and it's not even a rabbit hole, it's like a blowing open where I'm like, well, and then if this is the case and this is the case, like sometimes I'll send voice notes to either of you and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like a 27-minute voice note because I'm just like, and then there's this, and then what about this? And then
I know it's the best. It's the
I
best.
like, I'm like psycho spiritual analyzing everything and anything. But
Yeah.
on the flip side, that can also make you, I can get overwhelmed if I'm not watching my energy. I can get really like, especially with the Libra kind of trying to balance all sides, I'll get very paralyzed and like, I don't know what to do, like analysis paralysis. And then I'll just kind of like freeze. And a big one with Pisces is then like a bit of a shutting down and a disassociating where I'm just like, it's too much. And then I kind of just have to shut off and
Yeah.
drop into
Hmm.
la la land.
What
Yeah.
are your guys' partners? What are they?
Earth. That's
Earth.
Virgo.
Earth.
I'm air. I'm like, woo! He's
Yeah.
earth and grounded.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
What about you, Elise?
John's a Taurus. I had to Google it.
Aw, I like
Sorry.
Taurus. Taurus energies I get along with well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
he had a reading once, and we did the it wasn't Shannon, it was before I knew Shannon, and she did like a, because I had done a astrology reading with her too, and she did like a partnership reading because Taurus is very like grounded and stability and da da, and I'm like la 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 like all over the place. And I remember when John and I met, he's a lot more kind of, well, he's always been spiritual, but he's a lot more now. And he yeah, when we first met, I remember I'd be talking to him sometimes and he'd be like, huh? Like, dear God,
sure.
what did she say?
Oh, that's daily for
Dear
me.
God.
Daily.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so funny.
That
So,
is funny.
interesting thing about for anyone watching, very small snippet here of how you can, like when we were talking that Pluto is doing its thing and it's moving into Aquarius soon. So it's like kind of cusping through Capricorn right now. And then we're talking about Scorpio because we're in Scorpio season right now in our astrological calendar. You can look at the influence that Scorpio has on your birth chart. And you can just put that in like the free birth chart readings, and it'll show you if your sun, moon, or rising is in the house of Scorpio, right? And if it is, then you can have an extra emphasis of Scorpio energy on your sun, moon, rising, even if you are like, I'm a Gemini, so my sun is in Gemini, but it is in the eighth house, which is Scorpio. So there's Gemini, but then there's a Scorpio influence. So then when we're in the month of Scorpio, that's going to extra poke prod my sun sign.
What's the second house?
I don't remember, but I
I
can look
think
that
it's
up.
I think it's money and finances, pretty sure.
Let me see. I have it on like a quick save here because I have to reference. Yeah, money, purchases, income, resources, and objects.
So my earth, like my number, like numerology is 8, and my sun is in my second house, so Aries, in the second house, and Chiron.
Oh, wounds and finances.
Wounded healer.
There's so much for me to learn in this life about
Interesting.
finances.
Yes.
So that's fun.
So what's interesting with that though is we look at you as the example, right? Now we're in the energy of Scorpio, which is a little pokey, more so if you have anything in that house, which is Scorpio. But then you take the umbrella of Pluto doing its dance right now on top of whatever's like poking at you. It's very irritating. It is very like you can't get away from it, and it's getting heavier and heavier or more intense as we fumble our way closer to
Mm.
when it moves into Aquarius. And it's all to show what needs to be cleaned up. Right. So then when you take you, for example, Lisa, like you've got fire sign, but you've got Chiron in there and in the second house. So it's around money and stuff. It's like, how can you notice what's being triggered financially and getting you all fired up in maybe a wounded way? Those are, if you look at those things those way for that way for anyone, it'll give you indicators of what's pestering you and why, like the purpose behind it,
Oh,
what's to
100%.
be cleared. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Where do you suggest, like, what's good free sites for people to go look up their births? So if you don't know, look up your sun sign, your moon sign, and then the one that people actually say is most indicative of your actual personality is your rising sign, or that's your ascendant.
Yeah.
Ascending.
So if
Okay.
you go to astro.com,
That's what I use too.
yeah, astro.com, and you can fill in the time, place you were born, and it'll spit out your chart.
Yeah.
And it's
And then they have like really cool write-ups underneath. Moon is more about your like emotional self and your, yeah,
yeah.
I'm a Aquarius moon.
Ooh, watery. I'm a
Yeah.
Cancer moon, watery too.
Oh,
Deep
that makes
field.
sense. A little mothering
Yeah.
nurturer. What
Yeah.
about you, Elise? What do you, oh yeah, you're Virgo.
Pisces. No, I'm
Oh,
Pisces.
Pisces.
It's
Sorry,
Pisces.
sorry,
Yeah.
Pisces.
Yeah. I'm just over crying in the
So
corner.
watery. That's right. Oh no, wait. Aquarius is air. Your air and your moon. I was thinking water, right? Because
No,
Pisces.
yeah, because you think Aquarius, you
Yeah.
think water, but it's
Yeah, but
air.
it's
Yeah.
not. Right. Right.
So your sun, your moon, and your rising. I used to, because like I was saying, I would always read what my sun sign was because that's what
Oh,
I knew. And then when I shifted to reading my rising sign as well, now I read both. I found that, to your point, Lisa, way more indicative of how I was actually feeling in that moment or how
Me too.
something was impacting
Yeah,
me
me too.
yeah.
versus so the I always screw it up. So your sun is like your
Like the core of what you
yeah,
are. And then the ascendant is like how you, or sorry, your rising is how you express yourself, like how you are out in your world.
yeah.
And then the moon is like your inner emotional self. But your sun
Mhm,
sign is kind of like the pillars
mhm.
of what you
I
are.
thought it was the opposite. I thought your rising sign was like your authentic, your personal, yourself, and
Mm.
your sun is how you interact in the world.
I don't think so. Let me double check here though.
That's what I mean. I always screw it up. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And I'm like, no, wait, I have it backwards.
Shannon!
Shut it up, me.
Yeah.
So the sun represents your ego and motivation,
Mm.
and
Because
the ascendant or rising speaks to the energy that you put out in the world.
okay,
Yeah.
your ego and your motivation, so your more human self.
Like, yeah, like the pillars of who you are.
Well, and that would make sense, Jeanette, because when we were talking about like sometimes when our shadow selves come out, that could be like an ego trigger, right? And then when I'm in ego
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
then I'm Miss Aries biatch.
Yeah.
I remember with Libra, people used to be like, you value like beauty and like beautiful things. I'm like, not really. Like we're lucky if I wash my hair on any given day. Like I don't like I always took it very literally and I was like, I don't think so. And then
Yeah.
when moving in with John and I moved into a dude house, I was like like the house was fine, but like
Yeah.
it just the way it was decorated, I was like, I can't
Oh
live
It
God,
here.
needs
And
to
I
be
I'm so
really
prettier.
like
it
that.
needs to be
I'm
prettier.
so
And
like
I
Yeah.
really notice it with my spaces to the point where I'm like, if something's off, I cannot handle it. I have to
Oh,
fix
me
it.
too.
I have rearranged this room 17,000 times because I'm like, I don't like it. Oh, I need to change this. Oh, I need to change
Yeah.
this.
especially
Like
when
it
it's your
just,
special space, when it's like
Yes.
your energy space. I
yeah.
know.
Or John will be like, can we hang this picture here? And I'm like, how about over in the closet over there?
Let's put a pin in that idea and come
Yeah.
back to
Great
it.
idea. Not the day
I
though.
I
I
love
did
how you
that.
think outside the box.
But
I
no.
tend to do that with paint. So I'll just be like, no, it needs to change now. And like I have repainted our entire inside of our house
Yeah, you've painted
several
a
different
lot.
times. I even did I painted the entire outside of
Oh,
our house too, because it was like the blue's got to go. And Trev's like, okay, well, we're not hiring painters. I'm like, I'll do it. And in 2 days, I painted the entire outside of the house, 2 coats myself.
I know you did. Because
Yeah.
remember when I was thinking of like, I'm like, I think I want to paint the house. And you're like, oh, you can totally do it, Lisa. I did it. It's actually not that hard. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, coming from the woman who paints her house all the time, like,
She's
hell
like a
no.
professional painter.
I
Honestly,
hire someone to paint my house.
I'm pretty good at painting, I'll tell you. That's my specialty. Framing a house or something? No, no, it would be
That's so funny.
crooked. It would fall apart.
I
But
don't believe
painting.
It'll be a pretty color.
I know, right?
So
Ah.
funny.
That's fun. So
Mm.
yeah, I encourage anybody to go and kind of like investigate because essentially, like traditionally, if you're looking at horoscopes, we always kind of look at our sun sign. That's the
Mhm.
whole like, but there's so much more out there when you start
Mhm.
getting into it. It's really, really interesting. And if you haven't seen the interview that we did with Shannon, we got to bring her back, first of all. But Jeanette, you've talked to her a couple of times in your podcast as well. And then go back, way back. And we had her on like a year ago, I think.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But she's great. She's just full of knowledge. If you want your birth chart read, go to Avalon Spirit, find her. She's the best of the best.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's so good.
Yeah, she's so good. But it's really fun. It's a fun little like dive into different aspects of self. And obviously it's not like you know, there's wiggle room and there's personalities and we're all different. We have free will and this isn't, you know, but it's just a really wonderful way to kind of connect. And I like to go because you can go on astro.com and see like where the planets are aligned right now and then do that with your birth chart because you can be like, okay, if I've got something in this house and this is where the sun is right now, this is being illuminated for me and you can start putting the pieces together.
Mhm.
Right? I've just found out too that Aries is going into Saturn in 2025. And I feel like that is something now I'm like, oh, great. Great. I get to be prepared for that too because Saturn's full of lots of fun too. So,
Saturn's like the one of karma, isn't it?
yeah, and it's
Karma's
like
Saturn,
shadow. Shit. Ugh.
big karma
Think
elbower.
like
Like,
Saturn return.
it's,
Like think like Saturn. Like yeah, you're in it.
yeah.
So I'm gonna enjoy Pluto being in Aquarius for 3 months before Aries goes into like Saturn goes into Aries. And then I get to do so much more deep diving into more karmic stuff.
But you also, on the light side of it, you might be surprised at how much you've already done. And then what Saturn does is it reveals how far you've actually come, right? Because I think sometimes, and I mean, there is a lot of shadow stuff we get to go into, but I think sometimes what's online is more the negative spin of what they can be. Like even like when Uranus crosses Uranus. Oh my God, Uranus,
Not mine. Not mine.
not yours. Um, when Uranus crosses your sun sign, it also does something else. There's a huge revolution in your lifetime at that point. But if you've done a lot of work and you're in a good path and direction, it can actually, when it crosses that, it can propel you into beautiful new things. So same with
Yeah.
Saturn, the karmas can actually be fully released and you can actually see what you're stepping into now.
Yeah.
Right. So there is always the light side. And so I think that's something that is good that you brought up because I think it's important for people when you are looking up any kind of info, don't only look at the dark. You have to look at what the light side means too, because we're doing so much work in clearing our energies,
Oh,
all of
yeah.
us, everyone watching, that there's a lot of the light side that these planetary shifts can also bring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And astrology is such a complex system. Like I find like you'll see, people talking kind of generally about this is happening, if you look at Pluto and Aquarius and how it's affecting your sign, right? You'll find a million videos of, astrologers out in the world. But then there's also like I remember the reading with Shannon, it was like, yeah, this is happening, but there's also this happening over here in your chart that maybe isn't being talked about on a collective level, but that's influencing how this is, actually going to play out for you. And so it's like it's an art, I feel, because
It is an art.
there's so much context, there's so much interpretation, and there's so much complexity
Yeah.
to how any,
Yeah,
one thing.
it's not going to be all figured out.
Yeah,
Just before, just when you think you got a handle on it, something goes crazy and changes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important to always use your intuition too, because that sticks with you. That's your go-to.
Yeah.
Fun conversation, ladies.
that was
I
fun.
know.
Astrological conversation. I don't think we've done one, just the three of us, where we talk about horoscopes and planets, and
Yeah. I know.
it's fun.
I like it.
I like it too.
So, all to say, with this shift with Pluto, don't be afraid of Pluto, but let the momentum of what Pluto's bringing up for you, let it show you what it needs to show you, especially as it ramps up closer to November 19th. Let it show you everything it's bringing up because it's bringing it up so you can see it, like it's putting it
Yeah.
on a platter. So you could choose to do what you want. Don't turn your back from that platter. Otherwise, maybe Saturn will bring it around and like slam it
Yeah.
on the platter.
Yeah, take a
You're
look.
not done
Take a
with
look.
this yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
Okay, well,
Thanks, everyone.
that's all we got. This has been the funniest episode. I
Chaotic.
swear. We're so like all over the place. You're welcome. Enjoy the energy,
Yeah.
everyone. We love you lots. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do subscribe, share all of those things, and we will see you all next week.